Hey, hey, Nettie here. Hey, y'all. Beautiful, beautiful day to ya. Hopefully this day is starting out fantabulous for you. Mine is, as always. But today, Spirit has given me the message about changing everything and how you do that. It is so important for us to be aware of where we are at all points of the day. Now, somebody is saying that is impossible. No, it's not. When you are intentionally being present, it is very much possible, but we have been so conditioned to living on autopilot and subconsciously just given into just whatever the day brings. But when you are living an intentional life in and on purpose, you are deliberately creating the reality in which you live. Now, regardless as to which you choose, be it intentional or unintentional, autopilot or conscious living, you're still creating. So if you're still going to create no matter which way it goes, you may as well create a better outcome, a more desired outcome for yourself in your life. So, in order to do that, you have to take the position of the magician, the alchemist. You are the architect of your family's legacy, as my mentor says. And what that actually means, we get so hemmed up just in word that there's a number of things that happens with words, and we have to be mindful of the words that we're using because words are spells. They are either curse words to curse your life, your situation, and all of their outcomes, or actually, and that's where cuss words come from, or curse words. That is actually what's meant by that. It don't have nothing to do with shit, damn, and fuck. Um, it has more to do with the words that you are using to create. They have the ability to damn your life, um, curse your life, or to heal, renew, replenish, rejuvenate, and heal your life. So, we want to be on the side of life giving words to our life situations and circumstances. But furthermore, we get hemmed up because we don't know the power of words, we don't recognize how that goes. We get somewhere stuck in the middle. The words and phrases put together that make all the difference, we kind of just let them go in one ear and out of the other. But those things that are to our detriment, we usually often get hemmed up on because we don't know how dangerous they are. We don't know how infectious they are to our lives in future. So everything that you want is right now. We often think that we can get it later, we can do it later, we can change later, but now is later. Now and later, like the candy. But what is meant by that is it is all of the decisions that you make right now, all of the changes, all of the things that you do right now that determines later. It's right now that brings about the later. And what you want, you can have sooner than later, changing the now. So, what happens is because we're not recognizing the power in these words and we're not embracing the significance of some more helpful and powerful verbiage, but getting hemmed up on curse words and phrases, we are creating things that we don't want for ourselves. But how you change that is being extremely intentional about the way you carry out your life, being extremely intentional about how you point and direct your day. Actually, directing your day. Just getting up and going is not an intentional way to live. This future that you would like to create is only going to be created with intention. So you have to be intentional about it. Some of that intention includes your imagination. So, what will have to happen is we will have to completely disregard and disassociate from many of the things that we've been conditioned to believe. So many words and so many phrases come to mind where we are embracing them, but they are not producing desired outcomes. Like one phrase that comes to mind is, I gotta see it to believe it. There, that phrase is both right and wrong. If you use it right, it helps you to begin to create something that you want. Often, we're using it wrong. The wrong way is to think of it is, I can't believe it until I see the outcome in the external. Don't don't miss this because it could be easily misconstrued, which it always has been. The reality in the most useful and healthful way to use this phrase, adopt this phrase in the context of seeing it within yourself before you see it externally, and attaching your belief to what it is that you see internally, regardless as to what is seen on the outside. More often than not, what you see on the inside will not have manifested on the outside as of yet, which would be the opposite of what that suggested connotation of that phrase is. The norm for the context of that phrase is that I need to see it outside of myself in the physical to believe it. That is not the way that real life actually goes. Your internal reality that you set and make for yourself is consciousness. It is the actual reality. Don't let that go over your head. So what needs to happen is we have to reframe back into and adopt and adapt to being more imaginative. We have to use our imagination in combination with delusion, as some would consider it, and visualization. You have to emotionally begin to connect to the change that you want. So, what this means and how it's done. Yesterday, we talked about keeping change in your face. This is still very much an extension of that message. And it gets so deep. Some people be like, some stuff is not that serious. They don't want to do, because it seems crazy, the amount of intentional work that it takes to be and do better. It seems and sounds crazy to somebody else, so they don't want to do it. They care more about how they are perceived than how their life turns out. Don't be that person. And so, with this imaginative, emoting, and visualization space, that is the groundwork for the law of assumption. And what happens is you are creating inside yourself. Let's say you have a situation, but you're creating inside yourself the thing that you want to manifest. Let's say you want a new car. you don't hope for the new car. What needs to happen is you begin to, when you lay down at night and when you wake up in the morning, like just before you go to bed, and I say these 2 times a day, it's not the only 2 times a day that you do it, but you are in theta a lot of time just before you're transitioning into sleep, about the 5 or 10 minutes as you drifting into sleep, and just after you wake up for the first 5 or 10 minutes. So this is probably the most optimal state of mind. You haven't gone into thinking about a whole bunch of superfluous things. So it's a bit easier to create from that space as opposed to in the middle of the day when there's a bunch of stuff going on. But you could do this. You could set aside some time to get into a more imaginative and visualization driven space, like you would a meditation or something of that sort. But you think about your desired outcome. How does it, what do you want to happen? But most importantly, how do you feel after it's already happened? That is the key. You are living in the outcome in those instances. You're not planning the work up to how you get there. That's the part that kind of hems us up a lot. You are only imagining and feeling the outcome in this visualization of what it is that you desire. So, with the car analogy, you would be visualizing how you feel and connecting to how you feel now that you have the new car. What does it smell like? What does the steering wheel feel like? How relieved do you feel? How happy do you feel? Connect to the outcome, and the only other thing that will be left is for that to actually come to pass. You have already put yourself there. And watch how that changes your situation. It changes your conviction about the situation. And this is not just about cars. Any and every situation, and especially Spirit would love to surprise you with those situations that seem impossible. If you can shift your mindset and your approach to the outcome in this way, then you will be able to change any situation, even situations that the world will say are unchangeable. You can do that. You have the power to do that. Greater works than you. Greater works than you thought or perceived yourself to be able to go into. But still, the greater works that are talked about in the simile of Scripture in Jesus. You have this power. This power, this awareness is consciousness. We have got to begin to use this in ways that are so much more beneficial. You're already using it. You're already using it. It just is not in the way that is most beneficial. Think about situations that you don't want to happen, right? Think about like how we play up a whole story. We create a storyline and we listen, you will think yourself into pain. Your chest will be hurting, your head will be hurting. We're doing that in reverse toward good and more desirable outcomes. We're doing it with joy and with love and with gratitude for the outcome of the better situation. Let's get that. Let's do that instead of creating all of the crazy things that we've created. Instead of telling you, oh, or telling yourself, oh, all men are bad, or all women are good, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, or no way this can change because the law is, you don't live by those same laws. You are God, baby. You don't live by those laws. None of this stuff applies to you, for real. Create the desired reality, create what you want. Don't be a passive observer. You don't have to succumb to nothing. You don't have to live the same struggle ass lives that anybody else lives. You don't have to live that. Anyway, I want to say this because I want y'all to see how this plays out for you and for me. Ooh. I'm believing for some things. I'm believing, and I don't even want to say believing and creating with this same method, a very powerful outcome with this channel and with this life overall. I am grateful already in advance that I'll be able to help more of you in a more beneficial way. I am expecting a life of luxury and opulence. I am expecting the same kind of life that the ultra rich and ultra wealthy live. And maybe that's not what you want. That is okay. I'm telling you this so that when you're tuning in later, you can see how all of the same concepts and precepts I am telling you about, I've applied to my life, and you'll be able to see the success of that. So, whether you believe it now and make these same kinds of changes for yourself and in your life, or you wait to see me get everything that I want and then start, it will be on record that all things are possible. That is what is meant by all things are possible to those who believe. This is the measure of belief that is talking about. Enough to believe that you already have it, visualize it, and feel it, attach all of the outcome emotions to it. And it's not just a one-time thing. Keep that change in your face. This is the change. Sometimes, and Spirit told me to expound on this after that video yesterday. Excuse me. Sometimes it takes drastic change. They say drastic times call for drastic measures. Well, it is a drastic time of change for you. So call in the drastic measures. Sometimes on YouTube, I listen to, and very often, I'll listen to affirmations when I go to bed at night. Sometimes I'll tune into a channel that is specifically geared toward meeting my higher self, being my higher self in a number of different aspects. Whether it talks about the kind of business person I want to be, whether it talks about the kind of trader I want to be, whatever, what kind of, if it talks about the kind of relationships I want to have, I'll tune into that and I will listen to that for 8 hours on loop as I sleep. I'll get up to it in the morning if that's what it takes. I'll listen to books all day. I'll listen to podcasts all day. Sometimes it takes all of that. At the beginning, I don't even want to say at the beginning. This is what is meant by keeping change in your face. If you want to become better at visualizing and creating, you keep that kind of change information in your face, in your ears. You speak that. You look at only that. You look at things that are geared more toward that. This is the power of consumption. It begins to shape the way that you think and how you move. So important to your change. Also, Spirit just reminded me and told me this morning. Do not subscribe to these phrases that seem harmless but are actually curses. like the one about assumption. When you assume, the saying goes, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. No, that's not how assumption actually works. When you are actually functioning and flowing in what assumption really is with intention, when you assume, you make a thing to be, because you attach your emotions, you attach your imagination and your visualization to it. Hmm. There's a reason why that came out that way. Visual elation. At first, I thought it was a mistake, but Spirit said no. You begin to feel elated by the visual that you're creating. That is the emotion. That is the attachment and association to the change that you're seeking. That's good, Spirit. I like that. That's dope. But yeah, I hope that resonates and that it makes sense to assist you in your endeavors. There isn't a situation that this does not work on. The better at it you become, the quicker things arrive and manifest for you. But you have to know that there's no way that we can create more functionality from a dysfunctional place. And that is the importance of keeping change in your face. Honey, honey, how bad do you want this change? Don't let them people who do not desire change keep you from yours. It matters not what they say, what they think, or how they feel about your situation. Excuse me. They say you're delusional. Okay, I'll be that. But I'm going to also get everything I want and be looking at you. And I ain't going to say you should have been delusional or whatever, but they'll come back and ask, how you get everything you wanted? Back in the gap when everything was looking crazy and delusional and like I was living in La La Land, that was that. That was it. Be delusional. Create Disney stories in your mind for how you want things to come out. You can have all that. You can have all of that. If you are unwell in your body, visualize wellness. Imagine how it feels to be well. What do you wish, if you are ill in your body, what do you wish that you could do? If you are immobile and you are desirous to be more mobile, imagine how relieved and grateful you feel to be mobile. Do that on a consistent basis. And take the action that Spirit gives you at the time Spirit gives it to you. You can have that. You can have that. Spirit also said that this is a major practice at being the desired change. There's so much more power in being than doing. Y'all hear me say that quite a bit on this channel. This is always what I'm referring to. Anyway, I hope that this message finds you well, great, and in great spirits, and ready and willing to make the necessary changes to create the life that you want. Go on in love and in light. Be great. And until the very next time, I love you. And I am looking